So I know in the past when I've done items or we've done discussions about Geoffrey, and to explain to anybody who has never met Geoffrey de Mulder, um, we have a little bit of sport with it, but none of it is sort of out of turn because Geoffrey was a maverick, but he loved being a maverick. I think that's fair to say, isn't it, Tony?
Yes, he was definitely unique. That would be a way to describe Geoffrey. I doubt there was ever one before like him, and there'll ever be one like him since.
No, but he reveled in it, didn't he? He loved. I mean, he was took pride in being a pig-headed Yorkshireman, and he loved being a bit controversial, a little bit off the wall. So, as I said, we're not certainly not having a poke at Geoffrey. It's kind of laughing along with him, really, because he relished all that kind of controversy and doing outrageous things, didn't he?
Oh, he did, yeah, yeah. But the good thing about Geoffrey is dogs were looked after and looked magnificent.
Very much so. You've got to give me a Geoffrey story. Give me one of your favourite Geoffrey stories.
One of my favourite Geoffrey stories. Well, he was a great greyhound trainer, but he was a terrible driver. He used to frighten the life out of me every time I got into a vehicle with him. And I used to try and find excuses not to get into a vehicle with Geoffrey, but he was just oblivious of anything else on the road. And when you think what he used to have in the back of the car, that was absolutely worth a fortune. And well, I class as I was worth a fortune. I valued my life, but blimey, he was hair raising. That's the only way to describe Geoffrey in a car.
I seem to remember you saying that it was quite a sort of a tough arrival working for Geoffrey.
Yes, I was told I'd be living in, and when we got there, I was actually living in the coal shed at his mother's house. They'd emptied the coal shed, put a bed in it, and that was where I was living. And actually, Derek Law came with me dad to drop me off. And Derek actually said to me, Dad, you can't leave him here, Eric. And my dad said, oh, it'll do him good. It'll toughen him up. It'll do him good.
Yeah, that sounds like Geoffrey. Come on, Simon, you've got a Geoffrey story.
I think two stories that probably sum Geoffrey up. He was the sort of he'd send anyone for trial anywhere, and I remember, and I can't remember obviously the dog's name. I remember he sent a dog with the kennel hand down to Yarmouth for a trial, probably in preparation for the East Anglian Derby. And then by the time the kennel hand got there, Geoffrey had changed his mind. He'd rung the track because it was pre-mobiles and said to him, "Oh, when my lad gets there, tell him I've changed my mind, come back." So the poor lad had driven all the way from Yarmouth only to get there and have to turn around and come back. and another story that sort of probably, it's the only time I've seen Geoffrey speechless was, and Tony will remember Leo Goo at Hall Green. And Leo, it was the days where you could have some hand slips after trials. And Geoffrey got some superstar he wanted to give a hand slip, but Leo was also hand slipping a hurdler. Well, you can imagine what's happened in the days before all dogs were locked up in those circumstances. Leo's gone out a time machine that's cost God knows what and put it over the hurdles. And as Leo's walking back with it, Geoffrey suddenly realised it's his dog. Well, the expression on his face was unbelievable. He couldn't speak. He was spluttering. And the only words Leo said to him, "I tell you what, Geoffrey, it's not going to make a hurdler." And Geoffrey just went ballistic.
I remember Paddy Sweeney telling me this. I think I've written this story, but I'll reprise it anyway, about his very first visit to the kennel. And Joe, Geoffrey's father, was training at the time, and he was quite a good open race trainer. And Paddy walked into the yard, and as he walked up to the kennel, all he could hear was swearing and cursing and banging. and Geoffrey suddenly appeared around the corner being chased by his father, who was throwing glass milk bottles at him. And suddenly Geoffrey ran straight past Paddy, and Jodie Mulder just stopped and said, "Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Sweeney," as though nothing had ever happened. But Paddy said that was kind of the way they were. That was the kind of relationship they had.
Well, I'll ask Tony if he can remember what the actual name of Geoffrey's kennels were.
Redlam.
Redlam, yeah. But to all at Hall Green, we always referred to it as Bedlam Kennels because obviously it was the one thing that summed it up. It was Bedlam. It was just probably 50% total professionalism when you turned up there, and then 50% complete chaos. And you'd think, how on earth could this man actually train a grader, let alone an open race winner?
Yeah.
But I think I wrote the story for you, Floyd, at some stage where another horse had a couple of lads had brought a moderate dog, and this trainer couldn't even get it to grade. Geoffrey took one look at it and said, "I'll get it to A1, son, give it to me." And true enough to his word, he did, and he went all through the grades and got to A1. And that was the measure of the man. He could improve a greyhound probably better than many other trainers.
Yeah.
And you, Tony, of course, but you know, Geoffrey was the original. He was a perfectionist. He would not accept a challenge with a dog.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Nick Sather saying to me, any dog that was ever turned out, I said with Geoffrey's eccentricities and whatever, and he doing strange things, he said no man ever turned out a greyhound in Nick Sather's opinion in better shape than Geoffrey de Mulder. He said they were absolutely perfect in every way when Geoffrey got one ready, which I think was a great testament to the man, you know, from such high praise.
Definitely.
You could actually line 20 dogs up in a line, and one of them would be trained by Geoffrey, and I guarantee you'd pick it out. They were like Charles Atlas. They never had a hair out of place. They were bulging muscles. And well, yeah, the man was a genius.
Very, very much so.
And I think his dogs had an attitude about them. You could look at some trainers that be bringing dogs, you know, jumping all over the place, running about and acting silly. And then Geoffrey's dogs always came. They sort of epitomised him and had this sort of professionalism and attitude with them. They looked confident. They looked prepared to race. They looked like a highly tuned, well-toned athlete.